So I'm just back from walking the Antrim Hills Way. It's a bit of a lie. It's actually the Antrim Hills part of the Ulster Way. The Antrim Hills Way also takes in Slemish, which I did not do. I'm going to just show you what I brought with me, things that worked for me, things that didn't work for me, things that I brought with me that were great, and things that I brought with me that were not great, things I would have done differently, so that you don't have to make the same mistakes. So here goes. What will I start with? I'll start with having a wee swig of water from the Killy Glen burn. That's water I filtered from that river. I'll probably start with the biggies. The nature hike rock. It was fantastic again. I still think it's not the right bag for my body shape or something, but it just works. It works for me. It was great. I did actually forget to switch out from my last camp, which was a forest camp. Oh, I did put it in. Haha. Okay, high vis for any road sections. It's a win. Even if it's not raining, put the high vis on, do your road section. Yep. I have modified the chest strap, which you'll see in previous videos on this rucksack and on my gear review for the Wicklow Way, but I've modified where that chest strap sits, so that's all sorted now. This is a little add-on water bottle pouch from Regatta, which actually comes with a water bottle, but I don't use that water bottle. But it did take this 1 litre aluminium Regatta water bottle. It's this equivalent of a SIG. I'll mention this later, but I prefer I didn't bring that. Other thing that I did with this, I had basically created a stow and the go system.
Right, the wee pool stash system actually worked. It's a wee bit tight on it. Feels like it might poing and bash me in the eyeballs or something.
So we could stow my walking poles. All it is a piece of elastic bungee here on the rucksack, and then one on the shoulder strap that hangs down. So essentially you put the tips of the pole in here, they would catch on the baskets, and then you would stretch this around the handles. The one I had on it was short, so I had about that much bungee, and then it was a real stretch to try and get it over the end of the poles.
It's just wee bungees. Like there.
What I've done, which is I think closer to what the Osprey system is I've actually made that much longer. So it's far easier to get them around the handles, and then I can cinch it up with a cord lock. So super easy, super cheap, and it does work. If there's lots of styles going over fences, where you have your poles matters. Let's just say.
I'm feeling these posts are just getting put in, and the style is new. This is wobbly as fuck. Just see me going on my hole. This is not graceful at all. My pole's wedged in. It's jamming in my ribs.
Either develop a knack or a technique, but be aware when you're getting over styles and you've got your poles stashed. Just be aware, because it can make for a trip or a fall, or you get snared and then you're like, ugh, all that. Hip belt pockets are fantastic, nice and big. Stash your snacks or whatever in it. Nice big mesh side pockets for anything. I tend to prefer to use this big mesh pocket for clothing, because clothing's a bit lighter than other things you might put in there, and I don't want too much heavy stuff on the outside of the pack at the back. And then this wee section here, I find that's great for the water filter and for other things I want quick access to on the move. Next up, this, which goes in first into the rucksack, is that radiator insulation, windscreen insulation. They've cut down to size. Mostly it is for insulation purposes, but also it protects the bottom of my air mat, especially in the winter when your air mat is so important. That goes in first on the outside of the bag. So it just sits here, everything else goes in here. Next up, the good old Tesco 45 litre rubble sack. One bag I'll use, and that'll be my sleep system, sleeping bag, pillow, maybe my wee booties or whatever else. into that. I would almost bring 3 of these, partly so that you're not jamming it up to the top and then struggling to get it sealed nicely, so that it is like harder for water to get in. You know, I'd want to have less in it and then have a nice good roll on it. So I would possibly bring 3 of those. Once you've taken stuff out of that, you can then use that as a bit of a ground sheet for your porch. It's multi-purpose. They're cheap. You know, if they get holes in them, replace them. Rubble sacks, 45 litre. Use about 2 or 3 of them. Killyburn Glen water down the neck. This is one of the reasons I don't like this water bottle. Next up, sleeping bag. This is a Kelty Lightyear 25 feather sleeping bag. Bought it second hand for about 75 quid. I do stash it into this, which is a midge head net, not a mozzie head net, a midge head net with a very, very fine weave on it to keep the midges out. This is not mid-season, and it was so nice to experience nice weather without midges. It was great. So yeah, I stashed this in that, and it means I'm always going to have this, even when it does come into mid-season, and maybe mid-season has come a bit earlier than you anticipated, I'll always have this. Sleeping bag goes in there, and then that's into the rubble sack and down at the bottom. Sleeping bag itself, I find it's too wide. I think it's a big American sort of style bag. It's broader than I need, and I'd rather there's less room in it and it hug me more without me having to like pull it in around me. I think I prefer a zip on the other side than having a zip here. Maybe that's because I'm more likely to sleep my left hand side and then pulling down here, which is more natural for me. Instead of having to roll over and then whenever you're rolling over all the time, then the hood ends up going different ways. During the summer, it's not as big a deal, but during it got down to think maybe like feels like temperature of -2 degrees where I was on the Antrim Hills way. These things matter. Oh, there's a wee bit of down. So if you do have feather things, feather jackets, feather sleeping bags, do not pull the feather out this way. Try and pull it back in from behind. Try and grab it from behind and pull it back into the bag. If you pull it out from the front, got it. Yes, sometimes they're tricky, but pulling it back in again prevents the hole from getting bigger and opening up. So if you do see little bits of those, put the effort in to try and get it from behind, from inside the bag, and pull it back in rather than pulling it out. That was a wee extra free bonus tip. I prefer buying second hand, but if I pay the extra money to get that zip on this side, I think I would go for it. Okay, next up, we've done rucksack, we've done foil underlay, done the rubble sacks, done the sleeping bag in the mesh, mozzie net, midge net, and this is a nature hike, and it's the mat that's rated 5.8, an R value of 5.8. It actually comes in a new snazzy pump sack with is now even better pump sack than it was. It actually has a wee strap around it that you can cinch it in. This mat, so it's insulated mat basically. The R value is the insulation level, 5.8. May not be scientifically provable to be 5.8, or it may be, but it worked. It does work, and I can feel that it's insulated, and I can feel that I'm not getting that cold up from the base at all. So that in 0 degrees or less is brilliant. I can't remember what this weighs in it. Uninsulated mats tend to be around the 400 grams, or I'd be looking for one to weigh in about 400 to 450 grams for an uninsulated lightweight mat. This is probably 550, 600. No way. Is that even right? That's crazy, right? That's why I bought it. That's weighing in at 470 grams, and that's insulated. That's incredible. Yeah, I'm going to double check that, and I'll put it up on the screen what weight it's. But on my wee scales there, it's coming up at 470, 460 grams. That is nuts. Because I think my lightweight mat that I'm impressed with the weight of is like 420 grams or 410 grams. So that's brilliant. An extra 60 grams for all that extra insulation is totally worth it. So yeah, that mat, brilliant. I do not want to puncture this, basically, is what I'm saying. So bringing the foil underlay is just bringing something to put underneath this to prevent it getting punctured. Is a must. Was this a win? 100%. 460 grams? Didn't even realize that. That's nuts. This packs into this wee bag and gives a lot of, height and depth. I ended up adding like one of my clothing layers to the top of it just for a bit of extra cushioning, and also because it was too warm, the extra clothing in the sleeping bag. And I started taking this with me again because I learned a lesson on the Wicklow Way. I was using clothing as a pillow, but if it comes to that point where you need that extra layer when you're sleeping, like, then you don't have it for your head. So having a pillow, I think, is very important. This takes up no space at all. Super, super light. Was that a win? Yes, it was. Like, the pillow did its job. I'm glad I brought it. I was able to add to it for a little bit of extra cushioning to make it a bit softer, but that did the job. That was a win for me. Definitely will bring it again. Boom. This is what I'm bringing these days. Is my once I've hiked and I've sweated in my clothes and I'm hiking in. This is what I'm basically doing. Is like get that stuff off, give yourself a wee wipe down with a towel. And then this is basically base layers, tops and bottom, and a spare pair of socks. If you're doing multi-day hikes especially, keep that stuff as your kind of sleep-in clothes. Another lesson I've learned is I'm packing pocket hand warmers into that bag with those. For something so small to have such an effect on your psychology and your comfort is incredible.
I've got heat pads in my socks. I've had them in my sleeping bag all night. Of the remnants of heat are in my toes, which makes the mornings much more comfortable.
That's them there. Open them up from the plastic, shake them a bit, get them all going, get the air interacting with the stuff on the inside that gets them warming up. I basically put both of those into the bottom of the sleeping bag. And that they last for about 9 hours or so. They were still giving off heat in the morning when I got up. I think now, because they're so small and it makes such a difference, I'm bringing like 2 sets of those. I ended up buying a box of these. There was 40 sets of these for 16 quid off Amazon. These I know work. These are what my mate had as well, actually. They're called Little Hotties. And I actually ordered another box now because they were so psychologically uplifting. They had such an impact for something so small. They're a win, 100%. I'm actually doubling. They were such a win. I'm doubling, bringing more of those. Fantastic. I've got these puffy trousers. They're just called quilted joggers from ASOS, 400 meters above sea level. And when it was dropping to like 2 degrees at sea level here, it was definitely 0 minus something. And having puffy trousers for the morning because it wasn't warming up until like 9 o'clock in the morning. I was up from 5:30, 6 o'clock. It was still freezing. These wee booties. Wee booties, I think, were good to a point, but if there's no heat in your feet, they're only insulating whatever heat you're giving them. There was a point where my feet were starting to feel cold. And it's funny when you're that cold anyway, you're already cold, but you've got yourself in a wee position in your sleeping bag and you're rolled up and you're like, you're kind of reluctant to move, to do anything. Once you find your sweet spot and you think hopefully you're going to fall asleep. I ended up checking just to see because I had this thought, what if there's still heat in my wee pocket hand warmers? And actually it's these are insulating me and preventing the heat from the pocket hand warmers getting to my tootsies. Yes, I actually had to take these off because they were keeping me from the heat that was being given out by the hand warmers. Obviously, if I had the pocket hand warmers in these, then that would be different altogether because that would be heating my feet, and then this would be insulating the heat loss from those. It could actually possibly be too warm, to be honest, at that point. Yeah, I would bring those. So the pack into nothing, they're great. I got the like Zada ones because they were cheaper than like Nature Hike or whatever, but I think they're pretty much the same idea. One thing I did that I wish I didn't do was I was wearing fleece trousers in the house because it was so cold. Actually, and it actually was putting me off thinking about going anywhere. And I was wearing fleece trousers with long johns underneath them. I left the house with them. That's what I ended up hiking in. and had my ASOS puffy trousers. So ideally, what I would hike in, no matter how cold it is yes, my long johns, but in hiking trousers, just any hiking trousers, any soft shell regular hiking trouser would be perfect with long johns underneath. Partly because things like the seams here, if you get things like those quilted joggers, you've got a waistband. Same with that fleece pants I have. It's similar, like elasticated waistband with like a cord through it. This is not nice whenever you've got a 10 to 15 kilogram rucksack with a hip belt on it, squidging that up against your hip bone. Tent, still using the Fern 2-person Gutaka tent. It is still brilliant for me. I'll probably do an in-depth review after having used it multiple times now, just going into the finer details of what I like about it, what I don't like about it. But for me, the price I got it for, I think I paid £200 for it, brand new, one of the few brand new items that I bought. But at 1.5 kilograms for a 2-person tent with all that space in it, it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But the 1 person probably would have been better in a sense because you've got more options about where to pitch your tent, and that is another factor. It's like it was mostly blanket bog, there's only a few little pockets of areas defined that you could put something somewhere on. That would be an upside of having a 1 person. I just packed the inner of the tent in different wee bag. These are not dry bags with the lock and the seal. These are just, they're water resistant bags. They go in last in the very, very top once I've sealed everything in. Either of these could be wet, even if it's just with condensation, dew, or from rain. If it is from rain, I'll probably separate this one and get it away from this if it's a wet fly sheet. I've modified it slightly. I mean, tiny slightly. I've basically put 2mm cord up around the top part of it, and it's created a little sort of line that you could hang things from. There's a washing line of sorts. One thing I added to that was a little tiny S-beaner, tiny little thing. Clip that in so it's always there. It means I can hook in a little lantern to that quite easily. These are the pole, I say poles, it's one pole that all clicks together. That's in that bag, that goes into a mesh side pocket. These are the pegs. Pegs will go in anywhere, sometimes in the front mesh pocket where my clothes are, or again in a side mesh pocket. This is my little my outer first rig, which is again just like 2mm line cord with little less spinners. That means I can put the outer up if it is wet, put that up first, and then get the inner inside and get it up all dry and take it down dry if it's raining. Right, another wee swig of Killiglen burn water. Actually, while we're on this, while I'm drinking from this water bottle, normally I use these active water bottles. The reason why I didn't bring 2 of these with me, which is what I would have preferred to have done, was they smelled a bit funky, to be honest. I hadn't used them for a while, and I'm yeah, it stinks. So I want to replace my active ones, but last minute didn't have any and wasn't going to scrub them out, whatever. So I ended up bringing this. So it did the job. Some differences. This opens like that. That is easy. This is, and then sometimes it doesn't even thread in whenever you get it. And if it's cold, these things matter when it's like 0 degrees. The other thing is that also weight. Weight's another factor. The whole clanky thing. So whenever you've got your walking poles in your stash system and they're banging up against that, as does your head in. Brought this with me, but it's clanky, so my walking poles bash up against it, and things like that can take away from your being in the moment. Wee bliss. It did the job. It's something I could put water in, and water is very important. Would I prefer to use one of these? Yeah, 100%. I would bring 2 of these, so that if I see water along the route, just fill it up. I do have a CNOC water bag. I could potentially use that, but I would almost prefer to have something smaller that I can stash water, like dirty water, in, just for the way it would pack into my bag. Like, I think ideally I would get something like one of these wee flexible water bottles, but you need to be. It means you can just, on the move, if you see extra water and you want some extra water, scoop that up. In theory, I could just use the water, this kind of thing, and use that as a dirty water bottle. Attach your Sawyer water filter to that, but you do need to check the threads to make sure whatever it is you're using fits your filter. Smart water bottles don't fit these. This is our equivalent to do in the US for some reason. I hear that so active water bottles fit the Sawyer nicely. In Oxto, this does not, even though it looks like it's about to. No, 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 not quite. It's just not the right thread diameter. So just double check whatever you're using, make sure it does connect up. So yeah, I could just like keep dirty water in one of these, and then I could just fill it up at whatever source I find along the way. Just keep topping it up, and then just keep screwing this on, and then drinking from this. I might genuinely try that. And also, if even if it smelt in the morning, it would be like, oh, it smells funky. It wouldn't matter because I'm filtering it anyhow. So like, just bring that and fill it up. This is a Sawyer squeeze. I've got my wee active top on it, sort of keeps this all clean, and it means I can use this for back flushing the filter as well. So I can put that onto one of those and then squeeze it and back flush it. I actually did that when I got home this time. It's probably the first back flush I've done properly, and you could see when I was tapping it, you could see all the dirty water coming out of it. So hopefully that's cleaned it up a wee bit from all the sediment and residue and cooties. Yeah, I just keep that in this wee neoprene case, which is still like using actually. And that's have that quick and easy access, easy grab. Still using the C-Knock water bag, 2 liters. I used this once I finished my water bottle, and I was, close to the end, but I knew the food that I was needing to eat needed water, so I needed to have water for it in the morning as well and the evening. So I basically had to fill this up, but that was 2 liters, so it was an extra 2 kilograms. And then I ended up having to hike up probably the hardest of the hills that I had to do on the Antrim hills with that extra 2 liters. But I was absolutely priceless, priceless. I couldn't have done without that because I needed even that next morning having water to drink in my water bottle to get me through that just the section of walking until the end of where I stopped. And even for the bus journey through, I was like already dehydrated. I knew I was going to need water. So bringing that 2 liters and that extra 2 kilograms up that hill was absolutely essential. Make more detours. Right, that was for the win 100%. That goes in that wee one there, which is sometimes where I put my other wee neoprene pouch, which has my electronics in it. Okay, next up, electronics. Climb high. It's where I keep my new power bank. Bring a little mesh bag. It's just got 2 different cables in it, C-type and micro. Whenever I'm traveling about or going to bus stations or I think I'm going to be in cafes and things, that type of trip, I bring like a little plug with me, USB charger. That would go in there beside the water filter. And then these are 2 nice distinguishable marked pouches there, so I know which is which. Next up, I'm going to cover wee seat things, Decathlon, sit mat, even just for setting things on, just so you know where they are. It gives you somewhere to go like, okay, my phone's there, my power bank's there whenever you're in your tent and other things are all over the place. For kneeling on is the thing I probably use it for most, whenever I'm like getting stuff into the tent or out of the tent, setting up. Hardly weighs anything. Decathlon sit mat for the win, 100%. This nature hike folding stool, this is one of the things of this trip was things that make such a massive difference for the weight off them or the cost off them or whatever else. Pocket hand warmers is one of them. This is incredible. The comfort that this stool offers me for the size and weight of it is just incredible. Yeah, without this, I would not have had as comfortable an experience while I'm cooking my food or sitting having my coffee and watching the ravens fly by. This is just brilliant and it's so easy to pack away. You just like pull it like this here, ding, twist, dump, bung. That is brilliant and weighs I think about 200 grams, 250 grams. Cost about £12. Is that for the win? Yes, 100%, 200%. That's one of the ones that is out of this world for its weight and size and price. Adds a massive quality difference to my camping and hiking experiences. Yep. Next up, my little lantern. Let's say I've amended my tent inner, so there's a little S-beaner. I can just like click that in. This is the wee flex tail gear pump and light. Even if that was just a light, I would probably still bring it, because it does not weigh much, but it's also a pump. If you're pumping, you just hit the wee button twice, or if you're wanting the light, you just hold it in, you get your light, 3 different settings. That's a great wee gizmo. That goes in a wee baggies, just so I recognise it. Not everything goes in wee baggies, but that one does. 4 class Bivouac 500 head torch, tiny little head torch. Been using this for years now. It is really light, worked really well. I've used this while hiking and mostly around camps, but it's brilliant. It goes straight to red function, which is brilliant. Once you've turned it off, it'll go straight back to red again anyway. You've got 2 different white light functions, so regular and then strong. It's just brilliant. It's so lightweight. And it works very, very well for me. I've never at any point gone, I wish I had a different headlamp, and it only costs about 15 quid in Decathlon for the win. Okay, cook kit, still using this. It's worked for me brilliantly. I don't think there's anything really has changed in it. 4 class or Quechua, whatever, but it's like a solo pot set. Stainless steel, prefer stainless steel to aluminium. Always have like a neck gaiter inside there, and it softens the sound off anything rattling around. It's also nice as a wee towel to wipe things down, or if you're doing a wee quick clean of something, or to dry something off. It's handy, and also as a backup. Little folding spoon also came with this. I just bring tea bags these days, more tea bags than I used to, because sometimes I'm not actually drinking beer or wine. Little pot stand, one of those little Sea to Summit cups, which is just for emergencies, because I'll show you my other one, which you'll probably know. Refill these using a little adapter. Just keep on refilling them until the canister gives up. It's now the season where places like Home Bargains and B&M, etc., have their camping things in. So if you're in Home Bargains, have a look out for them. It's just like $1.99. It's gas, and it's a mixture of butane and propane, and it's $1.99. That's crazy. So I just refill those wee mini canisters that fit in here. I've got my wee sponge in there. So all pretty basic, but that all worked really, really well. Also in the little bag, I have my homemade windshield. So I did a little video about this. I might put a link on the screen. I commented on this in another video after making it, saying it was shit. I was like, don't bother. It kind of was. It sort of was, but it was mostly to do with the little flaps that I had to connect the 2 pieces of foil. Were kind of thin, and you had to connect them in, and then it wouldn't stay put. But actually, I ended up folding it down and locking it all in, realizing that I didn't have to totally surround the entire pot. So basically, it folded it together so it's a more solid seal. I don't need to remove those, that's connected there. And it's actually now solid enough that I can just put that wherever I need it. So my little windshield that I made actually isn't as shit as I thought it was, and is actually working for me, and it worked for me this time. Costs little, weighs little, takes up no space, did the job. GSI Infinity backpacker mug, love it. I've got 2 of these. These days at the minute, I'm sort of stashing my coffee in there, or extra tea bags, whatever, so at least something's in it and it's just not dead space. One of the things I found this super useful for in a Wicklow way was if I cook double food portions, I could put the leftover food in this, seal it up, and even inside my bag, I could have put it, like, as long as it's not liquid stuff, but like couscous or whatever, if it leftover couscous or rice or something, put that in there, store it, and then I can eat it whenever, as a wee snack later on. You've got a cozy, it's all separate as well. On a very cold day, like having your coffee out of this instead of something like that wee Sea to Summit collapsible cup, this makes a difference in those cold mornings. I wouldn't bring as much coffee as that, it's nuts. I think that mug cost me 17 quid. I used it, it was good, did what I needed to do, insulated my coffee, which made it more enjoyable in the cold morning. This one I've been thinking about. I thought it was brilliant at the time, but I'm rethinking it. It's these little silicone bags. These ones are the Moon bags. Definitely better quality than this one here that I have. which is like a generic one off eBay, I think. It just doesn't feel very secure. I think it opens too easily. Moon ones feel totally solid. It's a really secure seal. It would take a fair amount for me to actually pry that open. I did this originally thinking that I could, not dirty up my pot. I could just heat, pour boiling water into this with, say couscous in it. Um, and then I won't have my pot dirty. That all means I can just use that for boiling water for coffee. There's no cleaning needed. It would make it less faffy. I think realistically, what I would do is actually just pre-put these into IKEA Ziploc bags. There are times when bringing those might work, and there's other advantages. Like whenever I used my coffee filter and it was all stinky, it was nice to be able to put it in there. But I could do that with an IKEA Ziploc bag too. So I don't know. Silicon bags versus IKEA Ziploc bags. I think IKEA Ziploc bags is going to win that argument. As far as my wee food thing goes, it's actually really great. These ones in Lidl, you get Mediterranean style ones. Now there's about 3 different flavors of these. I think the other flavors have maltodextrin in them, and I think the reason why I started buying this one is because there was no maltodextrin. I'm just looking at this. There is some sugar in it, but there's no. Well, yeah, there's no maltodextrin. So that's probably that. I think that's the cleanest one I could find and actually tastes decent on its own as it is. I add in the soy protein chunks you can get from Holland and Barrett. And these are 2 things in the Wicklow Way that I found to be brilliant, is adding extra flavour and just making your camp food when you're in the outdoors just tastes so much better. And so dried onions, added that to the mix, and that's or garlic puree. Brilliant. Snacks in the trail, roasted nuts. I'm all for the roasted nuts. Just try and find the cleanest things possible, stuff without crap in them. And it used to be, I think it used to be that Tesco's dry roasted nuts didn't have crap in them. So either I got that wrong and they always did, or they've just started putting crap in them, but there's maltodextrin in these now. As far as I remember, Asda are the only ones I've found without maltodextrin in them. It's just me. It's the way I am. I've got to make choices. I picked these up in Lidl. Soft pitted dates, and that range they also have apricots and figs. So yeah, I'm mucking around just seeing what I like and what works for me. But they would be nice wee add-ons. This is basically like trail mix, fruit and nut mix, walnuts, almonds, sultanas, cranberries. God, what did I find was in these? Oh, why they sweeten the cranberries with sugar. There you go. No need, like, but sure. At least it's not maltodextrin. Controversial for some. This is my pee bottle. Some people think this is gross, but whenever it's 0 degrees, -1, -2 degrees outside, and you've got warm and cozy inside your tent, and you don't really want to go outside and put your boots on again and do that, having a pee bottle is pretty handy. Find your pee bottle of choice. Make sure it's got a wide enough opening for whatever size you are. On that note, electrolytes. I was dehydrated, but also then drank, probably equivalent to 2 cups of coffee before I went to bed. That's a diuretic. Whatever it did need to pee, went to get my pee bottle out, pee inside the tent, which requires kneeling and sort of leaning over a bit. At this point, when you're just ready to let yourself go into your pee bottle, end up cramping down your legs, and then you're like, ah. Now, if that happened mid-flow, that could be pee all over your down sleeping bag. So that's the payoff. One, make sure you're drinking plenty of water during the day. Probably don't drink coffee before you go to bed. Something like peppermint tea would probably be better. But electrolytes would also help eliminate the possibility of cramps, or just take a hit and pee outside your tent and not pee in a pee bottle. But these are things to think of. I'm just like sharing my experiences so that you keep it in mind, and weigh up the options and make your choices. But yeah, be aware, because that could be it. Is like, imagine like letting a full bladder of pee out all over your sleeping bag or over your tent. That would be a disaster. Up for discussion. Leave your comments below. On that note, trial for digging your poops, hole for your poops. Don't leave your toilet tissue behind. One of the ways to make sure that you don't leave tissue behind. Now, sometimes if I don't have the anything else, I'll actually take my tissues out of the little plastic packets already in, stash them in a pocket, and then use just the outer packaging of them. So to demonstrate, say I was using one of these tissues to wipe my bottom, I would then take the rest of those out of that, put them in yon pocket. If it's raining, I don't want them to get wet, so I might put them in the inside of a waterproof jacket to keep them dry if I have one. But I'd rather have the other option, which we'll show you. But yeah, basically put your dirty tissue inside that, stash it. Other thing is to carry your tissues in a little tiny IKEA snack bag so that you can have it to put your dirty tissues in and maybe your other rubbish as well. I have another one of those, just elastic banded to my trowel, so it's always there. I'm always going to have one of those. So yeah, that's the toilet situation talked about. So on that theme, I've got my little toiletry kit, little towel. This is a 4 o'clock. It's one of the Decathlon multiple brands, Nabaiji. So this will be in their kind of like water sportsy type section, I think. This is mostly actually for drying my feet off, and I've got the camper like actually halfway along the trail. There's a bit where I sat down and just took my boots off. Turn my socks inside out to let them dry out a wee bit, and then dry my feet off, and it just helps prevent blistering and things like that.
Time to put the poles down, take the socks and shoes off, let the socks dry out a bit, air my feet out a bit.
It's just nice to be able to, wipe myself down, get my feet dried off. That's mostly what that was for. Also, it could be if you got bad condensation in the morning inside your tent. That tent that I use, no condensation issues. Having said that, once this does get wet, like it's not going to dry out as quick as one of those wee sponges. So especially if it is for the condensation, I would probably bring one of those little sponges extra. And actually, I totally forgot about that. And I do have some in my little camping chest. So yes, that's something I haven't got here, didn't bring with me, but I would nearly always bring with me. So it's one of those little Lidl dish sponges, little square ones. They're brilliant. They're super absorbent, but they dry really quickly. You can wring out water out of them, and they're so dry. Whereas this, if you use it for like something like condensation in your tent, it'll be wringing wet. And my little toiletry kit's literally just a foldy toothbrush, one of the travel size toothpaste, which I actually refill from regular toothpaste. I've got some hand gel sanitizer. I've got my tick stuff and wee tick card and tweezers there as well, which is from the Wicklow Way, but I'll just keep them in there. Even though we don't seem to have a tick issue currently much. But a wee BO spray as well, and that's if you can't, like I managed to get the public toilets and actually in there, even though there's people around, I was like cleaning my pits and washing my head and all, just because it was a wee bit smelly and I was going to be getting on a train, and just out of consideration for others, didn't want to be stinking them out. So yeah, I do bring up. Some people would think that's overboard, but I don't. For the win. Like something I didn't bring that I think I should bring and would, yeah, I think I will start bringing it, get in the habit of bringing, is I bring an actual map. I was so diehard about this stuff whenever people started using apps, and I was like, no, use maps, use compass, don't lose the skills and all that kind of stuff. But there are extra details on maps that you don't get on apps. Fold your map up, don't be too precious about it. You will wear your maps out, and you'll put holes in them and just buy another map eventually. But they're a work of art. Get the section that you need. And then put it in a wee IKEA Ziploc bag. The ideal place for something like this would probably be in a bum bag that you can access really quickly, so you can check anytime you have any doubts about where you're at. I would recommend getting an actual map, using an IKEA Ziploc bag to keep it dry, and have it accessible on the move as well. Little repair kit that I always bring with me, never seem to use, but it's repair for me and for other bits and bobs. The main thing in here, I think, actually is probably this, which is little bits of Luco tape basically put onto, it's the back that you would get labels, return labels on, if you're buying stuff online, and you can just cut little sections off, stick it on that, fold it up, and then if you get any hot spots, you can put some on the hot spots to prevent them becoming blisters. I do also have, like a few little blister plasters in there, some regular plasters in there, emergency foil blanket, antiseptic wipes, some stuff like ibuprofen and that kind of thing, a little card with gaffer tape and some needle and thread, some adhesive tape that I can put onto the tent if I get a tear or a hole, and some cable ties. This is the same little case I used from toiletries. These were, I think, from Tesco's, cost about 99p. They were little pencil cases. I like that they're see-through. Oh, there's that little screwdriver I was looking for. It's basically for my glasses. I love having a bum bag. It's just, I find it so useful. This actually fits the drone, so it means I can put the drone in there, the controller in there, um, and then it's super handy for getting that out because it's one of those things you don't want stashed away. Otherwise, you'll never stop. Get your rucksack off, then get the drone out. It's one of those things where you see an opportunity, you want to get it quickly and easily. There's the DJI Neo. This has revolutionised my experience of drones, and I would definitely recommend it. I actually brought my little monocular with me, and it was in there, and that's because there'd actually been golden eagles. It's been seen in the Antrim hills over the previous weeks. A white-tailed eagle was seen, and there's also other great wildlife as well. Like I saw Irish hare while I was there. It was a lovely encounter.
There it is. Oh my goodness, amazing. That's the other one's still at the junction there. Oh, amazing. Yeah, there they go.
They're really close. So yeah, there's a lot of great wildlife to be seen. There were grouse everywhere. Not that I actually saw them, but I could hear them. But yeah, for me, monocular in there, tissues, buff neck gaiter, your wallet and stuff like that in there. Snacks, your nuts and seeds and all that kind of stuff. Have them in there. Sanitizer maybe. If you've got little devices like Pocket Osmo, something like that, you could have that in there. I, however, put that in. This is what I use this little pouch for. But yeah, my little Osmo and then my tripod for my phone would go into that wee pouch usually. Other thing I didn't bring with me, which so far I don't know whether it's because I haven't actually watched all the footage that I have. I don't know if I need it or not. Is this? This is the Zeal sounds that I got off AliExpress for about £15, honestly, or 20 max. Um, the story is I had stopped even trying to use these because we're getting squelchy sounds from them, which I then thought might have been the artificial noise reduction mode on it. And it took me a while to get around to even testing it on artificial noise reduction and then without it to see where that squelchy sound was coming from. Uh, I think what's happened is when I last used these in the outdoors, I think water got into one of them. And it's basically a squelchy sound on both the artificial noise reduction setting and without. I think I'm now using the one that I didn't use on the Moilway or on that section. And I think that's what it is. I literally only discovered that before doing this video. So I think basically one of them, Lavalier mics, I only need one, I don't need the two. But one of them is banjaxed, let's just say. But I think this one seems to be working okay. We'll find out whenever I look back at this video. So, yep, they could be for the win. I'm yet to find out. This video will be a bit of a discovery, really. So these are my new nature hike poles.